History lost, decks past, but in this series, we revisit older decks to see if they can be brought back to the forefront of the meta. We'll break down what made these decks great, what no longer holds up, and how modern builds can give them new life. By exploring different variants and tech choices, we'll tune each deck to fit different playstyles. Let's see if these classics still have what it takes for meta teching. What's up, guys? My name is TechnoTuner, and today I'm bringing to you all a new series that I like to call meta teching. This is a series where we're going to break down a old deck that has a lot of fan base around it, or just something that I find interesting, and try to see if we can make it to where it can be meta viable. This deck has a lot of capability for Arcana Force to really see some growth and how we would further improve it. I figured since this was one of the more interesting decks I've done in the past, I wanted to see if there's a way we could revamp it and basically make it a little bit more meta relevant, or capability you could take to locals and play for fun, but still have that capability of getting a top. This deck does have a lot of further capability with the world, aka this big boy, to go through and send 2 monsters you control to skip your opponent's next turn. So basically, you're just going to skip your opponent's turn as much as possible with this. And this is something that I wanted to build around, but I also wanted to build a more controlled and fusion variant as well. So we're going to be taking a look at some kind of deck builds around that, instead of just this coin flipping base archetype with just hand traps thrown in. While this deck build is still fun to play, it's not very capable because you're not seeing the Arcana Force monsters as much as possible, and you're placing a lot of risk on just using Light Barrier with the spells to get to them. And if you don't have Light Barrier up, or the accessibility to really use their effects because Light Barrier isn't up, Second Coin Toss is there as well. And since that's a continuous spell, and you really don't want too many of the continuous spells in there so you don't brick, you're looking for more ways to OTK your opponent as much as possible. So let's go ahead and hop right into our actual other 2 decks, and let me show you what I'm working with here. So for Arcana Force, what's one of the biggest things that you have that's an issue? Getting the amount of monsters on board to actually summon the world, or to fusion summon. Millennium offers up a great opportunity here for the deck to further grow. Looking back at Jesse Cotton's list that he had for one of his videos, this deck has a lot of capability for going second, being a sleeper build, to where you can go to a locals and not many people would know that you're playing Arcana Force just based on the Millennium stuff that you have. Millennium, since they can set themselves or place themselves in spell and trap zone, and you can pay either life points or reveal Millennium Ankh to special summon them, it gives you full board capability of getting free monsters on the board to have as sacrifices for either the world, or to allow you to go for the Exodia boss here to go for further damage. Now you can further improve this by adding the Exodia traps, such as Obliterate, and I think it's another one. But basically giving you that capability. But the one thing that I like about the Unstoppable Exodia Incarnate is once per turn, when a Speller Trap or Speller Trap card or effect is activated, quick effect, you negate the activation. So that can further help you when breaking your opponent's board. Millennium also does have the capability of searching a lot of key cards that it needs, such as Ankh, monsters, or Weju Temple. Weju Temple allows you to place one in the back row, which can further help you establish a board while not using your normal summon, because the normal summon can be very heavy for this deck, and it's very reliant. Because the one that we're wanting to really get out a lot of the time is Arcana Force 5, the Hierophant. You can discard this card. Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects when an Arcana Force monster is summoned to your field. If this card is summoned, toss a coin. Heads, special summon level 4 or lower Arcana Force monster from your deck with a different name from the monsters you control and in your graveyard. Tails, special summon Arcana Force monster from your deck to your opponent's field. This can backfire unless you have the capability of having Light Barrier on the board. Light Barrier gives you the full board capability of once per turn, during your standby phase, toss a coin. If the results are tails, the following effects are negated until your next standby phase. When you normal summon an Arcana Force monster, choose which effect to apply without tossing a coin. If your Arcana Force monster destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you gain life points equal to the destroyed monster's original attack. The thing is, if you activate during your turn, you don't have to really worry about those side effects. This is where Weiju Temple comes into play, because you're going to basically place the Weiju Temple once you get done with a light barrier, and then move on from there. Or you can set up the Weiju Temple first to get your monsters that you need for the world onto the board, and then place the light barrier so you can activate the world's effects that you need. While this card is very helpful, it does offer up a lot of setbacks, which I was trying to minimize by running more of a Millennium Core with the Exodia stuff in here. Now, do note I am running a couple level 10 or rank 10s as well, such as the Super Dreadnought, Rail Cannon, Gustav Max, which you can make with 2 of the worlds. Same thing with Juggernaut Leap, you just use the cannon. We have Dingirsu, which basically gives us the capability of setting up a protection from card destruction, since we can use the Singanin as it is a level 8. We can also do Glubion shenanigans with Numeron and Hope Harbinger. But we also have full board capability of going into Proxy F Magician or IP Masquerena, SP Little Knight, Nightmare Unicorn, or Access Code Talker. Now, if you don't really want to include any of the links for this, you're more than welcome to edit this any way you see fit. But this is something that I just wanted to take a look at and show you guys a little bit more on this. So we have Millennium Shield here, which when you summon it, either by paying 2,000 life points or revealing a Millennium Ankh, you can add a Millennium Ankh from your deck to your hand, which basically sets off the whole life point payment for everything else that you're going to special summon. But if you just have a Millennium Shield on the board, it just still gives you access to go into the Millennium Ankh to then go into the Exodia to get you another body, but the body can then be used as interaction against your opponent. Protection from spells such as Raigeki, Lightning Storm, Forbidden Droplet, etc. Well, not Forbidden Droplet as much, but you get the point. You have full board capability as well to break your opponent's board by using the Forbidden Droplets, the Lightning Storms, the Harpy's Feather Duster. If you want to sub in Raigekis, you're more than welcome to, or evenly matched. The other thing I will state is that Light Force, Arcana Reading, and Arcana Spread are really good spells, especially when you have Light Barrier in your field zone. Because when you have Light Barrier in your field zone, you can activate one of these effects and choose the effect, not by a random coin flip, which makes it a lot easier. The one thing I will state that makes this deck a lot more fun to play is Goddess of the Two Sides, because Goddess of the Two Sides, if this card is normal or special summon, you can add one monster from your deck to your hand that has a coin tossing effect, such as any of the Arcana Force monsters. During your main phase, you can toss a coin and call it. If you call it right, double the attack of all monsters you currently control until the end of this turn. If you call it wrong, send as many monsters you control to the graveyard as possible. Minimum 1, and if you do, draw 1 card. So it's a double-edged sword here, but if you call it right at least once, you can double your monster's attack, which can make it incredibly stupidly big. Senjinin can get up to past 5k. The world can get to 6,200. The fusions can go to 66, and Unstoppable Exodia can go past its normal bounds. The thing is with this deck, you're playing as going second is your only option. You're looking to do as much damage as possible. Now, what's the one benefit here that we're looking for? Valhalla. This is the one card I'm running one of in this deck. You can feel free to cut it if you want, but I'm running it at 1 because all the Arcana Force monsters are fairies, and this allows us to special summon one of them. This will help us get more onto the board for a board state, for tribute summoning, for fusion summoning, etc. The more that we have on our board, the further capability we can further extend. But that's all that I have for this first deck build. Let's hop into our second one. Are you looking for a more controlled variant? Are you looking for the musical aspect of Arcana Force? Are you looking for a more Various-centric deck? Well, let me present to you Arcana Melodious. Arcana Force, along with the Melodious archetype, work very well in function because while you're not really using them to go into your fusions, they are both fairy type attributes, which can allow you to go with Herald of the Mirage Lights to set up and negate, allow you to go Protector of the Agent's Moon for an extra pop. You have full board capability of using a rank 4s, or excuse me, the level 4s to go into Time Thief Redoer or number 41 Baguska, the Terribly Tired Tapir, to go into Typhon or Zeus. You have a lot of capability to further grow. While the Arcana Force Millennium deck is more focused on going second, Melodious is more focused on going first. While this deck is very eccentric and very focused on getting that fusion summon out with Ostinato, getting that banish and interaction with Baka and Elouette, the Melodious Magnificat, you have more capability of getting free special summons out, further capability of further extending, and having further searches and summoning aspects to your capability list. It also gives you the capability of pendulum summoning as well, because Refrain and Couplet are pendulum scales 1 and 9, so you can go with the world, which I believe is a level 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So yes, you can pendulum summon out the world. You can pendulum summon out any of these other ones as well, which can further help you set up your combo without using your normal summon. And that's the one thing that we're looking to do. We're looking to save that normal summon for when we need it the most. And if we get that on the board, we can further our plays however much we need to. Even if we can't get the world out on the board, just through normal capabilities, and we have to use the Arcana Force EX, the Chaos Ruler effect, we have the capability of getting bigger monsters on the board to OTK if we need to. The other thing that I will state is that this deck offers up a lot more interaction with our opponent because we can do the IP and SP stuff, but we also have full board capability of setting up Herald of the Mirage Lights as well, because we can send one fairy monster from our hands to the graveyard and negate the activation of a spell or trap effect, which can really stop a lot of things currently, from a Mitsurugi Ritual to a Ketu Draco Tail to a Rahu Draco Tail to a Branded Fusion. You name it, it has that access. But the other thing is we can also make Protector of the Agent's Moon, because you contribute one fairy monster, target one card your opponent controls, and destroy it. So this turns your monsters that don't really do much during your turn, or excuse me, during your opponent's turn, into something that can be used as an interactable pop during your turn if you've already used their effect and don't want to really force anything else in that case. So for example, you don't get to use Goddess of the Two Sides, but you have Protector of the Agent's Moon on the board with Goddess of the Two Sides. Well, Goddess of the Two Sides, we're not going to chance its effect because we only have smaller monsters. We're going to tribute it off with Moon, use it to pop a card on the field. That's going to help us establish a little bit more board breaking staying power, giving us further capability of breaking more into our opponent's board and setting up and establishing our own. The other thing that I will state is the Melodious Concerto. This card is really good because you can fusion summon one fairy fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand, field, or pendulum zones. If a Melodious fusion monster is sent to the graveyard while this card is in the graveyard, even during the damage step, you can place this card on the bottom of the deck, then draw one card. So it gives you draw power, allows you to reuse your pendulum zones for a fusion summon to go into Schuberta, the Melodious Maestra, which allows you to target up to any 3 cards in the graveyards and banish them, while also giving this card an additional 200 attack for each card banished. So this can boost it up to a 3k attacker, but it's also a quick effect banish while it can work. So this can hurt your opponent a lot because say they go for an Arthalion effect and they're trying to trigger off the effects in the graveyard. You don't want them to add those cards back to the hand. You're going to activate Schuberta. Schuberta is going to banish those cards in respect, so they can't get them back to their hand. That can hurt a lot. So, what's the other capabilities that this deck can do? Well, with Baguska, you can still set up a little bit of a board lock, because if you put it in defense position, of course, everything else is changed to defense position, their effects are negated. So that slows down your opponent a lot. The other is Time Thief Redoer. You want to steal something, you can steal the top card off your opponent's deck during each standby phase. This can help you get either a banish of this card until the end phase, draw a card, or target a card your opponent controls and place it on the top of the deck, so they basically have to redraw it. This can slow down your opponent's build or capability of their board state. The other thing I will say is that we do have the access code talker. You don't have to run the access code, but I do recommend it, as this card does give you a lot more pushing power because you can banish links with different attributes to send cards from your opponent's field to the graveyard. So that can further help, while also making it at least a 4,300 attack monster, which is harder to out. So, once again, this deck is really beneficial and really helpful. Now, the one other thing I will state is we're also running one Valhalla Hall of the Fallen, because all our monsters that we're looking to use are fairy monsters. This is going to come in more handy than the Millennium one because it gives us that freeborn capability to get that special summon even if we don't have current capabilities. So that allows us to really move more into a established board a lot easier than most others. It can also bait a Ghost Ogre or really anything like an Interactable Pop or a Flame to make our opponent think that, hey, we don't really have much, but we're going to try this. If they force the Flame on the Valhalla, you're perfectly fine because more than likely you have other cards you can really operate with, whether it be an Ostinato, a Light Force, a Light Barrier, Arcana Reading, Arcana Spread, etc. I would much rather have the Valhalla negated than anything else when it comes to this card, or when it comes to being negated on the board. Anyways, guys, that's all that I have for today's meta teching for Arcana Force. If you guys like today's deck builds, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.